Good morning, distinguished scholars and the organizing committee and the participants. It's a great opportunity to join today this program. Actually, I was invited by the organizers, especially to come from Sri Lanka. I feel I have been several times now to India. Every time is a precious experience. It brings a lot of joy to me, and it also takes me back to the time of the Buddha, and especially this place where the Buddha initiated his missionary program with 5 ascetic monks. Dhammacakka Pravartana took place in this city. So it is always a great thing to visit this place as a Buddhist and also a Buddhist monk. And today our program and this conference focuses on both traditional Indian knowledge about legal system and also the Western teachings or Western legal philosophy. My paper focuses on Rājadharma in early Buddhism and how it is related to good governance. Okay, before starting the presentation, I feel that we are in a junction or at a certain point where I think 2 civilizations in clash, the Vedic and the Indian tradition, and then the Western tradition. I think we are in a kind of conflict mode. Then we have been trained and we have been taught the Western system of thinking and governance and the legal system. And also we have a tradition which is coming from several millennia, which were behind us always and gave us footing to face any kind of challenges. But there is, I think, some confrontation between these 2 traditions. As a new generation, I think my question is we have to get whatever good disregarding the origin. So it means if you have, that is my question. If we have to learn from our tradition, of course we are open, and also to other traditions also. As King Solomon said, he's the king who could build the temple in the Jewish tradition. He said, I learned from other religions than my own religion. It does not mean that he demeaned his tradition, but I think he's the one who represents in Jewish tradition the wisdom. So he said, I learned from others, other traditions which were not recognized. So it means as I think, we have to have open mind. Of course, we appreciate, we love, we protect our tradition first, then we enhance our tradition. We can't, as I think, we can't be blind to developing things in the world. If certain things are working better than our system, I am always ready to accept it. So that is, I think, regarding these legal teachings and how a government should be run. These are very critical questions. So to address these things, it requires a lot of knowledge, expertise. But I'm not expertise in governance. I'm only a Buddhist monk and a Buddhist scholar. So my paper focuses on finally that Rājadharma, as the chairperson and the others initiator mentioned, the Rājadharma and good governance, how they are connected, and how they, in early Buddhism, how these 2 things have understood. And from Buddhist point of view, how we are going to get some insights to enhance or to improve our current system. Good governance, if I start with the word, good governance now, when we research, we can learn it's not a kind of limited meaning only to govern or rule by the government, but it has widened its scope to embrace all the aspects of society. Without economic prosperity, there's no good governance. So the experts today focuses on the strategies and the policies or the values, etc., how to support the whole process of developing human society. So the taking decisions and implementing decisions all should be aligned with raising the level of society. It's not only rule of law, but it covers many aspects. It means it's a kind of holistic approach to develop human society. So in early Buddhism, we learn that we learn basically Buddhism started with the Gautama the Buddha in the 600 BC here in India, starting from Banaras, and then his teaching spread all across the Asia and even to beyond Asia. It reached during the time of the Emperor Asoka. Sri Lanka is still being the stronghold for Theravada Buddhist tradition, which is based on Pali Buddhism. In the Pali canon, we can read and we can learn many ideas about Rājadharma. Dharma is the most important thing. I think yesterday the professors and distinguished scholars, they referred what is the basis for the rule, that is the Dharma. King is above everybody. Even in Buddhist tradition, in the Buddhist tradition, king is the highest human being in the secular world. Two leaders are there in the world. One is the Buddha, who represents the spiritual realm, and the Chakravarti Raja, or Raja Chakravarti, the universal monarch, is the highest person in the secular world. So the king demands a lot of respect according to the Buddhist readings, texts from us, of course. So then the Raja Chakravarti is the model for good governance, for the proper governance in the society. Then he's the model, and he places Dharma as the guiding principle for him. So Dharma is the most important thing. And before, okay, I will directly go to the topic. So then, in forging good governance, there are ethical teachings to be followed by the rulers. Of course, in the ancient times, we recognize, based on Buddhist literature, there are two government systems. One is this monarchical system, and the other is republican system, Ganatantra. So for the monarchs, Buddha had taught set of teachings, and for the Ganatantra states, or for the republics or democracies, he had approved another set of teachings. At that time, we know that Buddha's time was a time which witnessed the growth of monarchs, like Bimbisara in the Magadha and Udeni and King Kohuwala, etc. These were emerging empires at that time in India. Finally, it reached the climax with Asokan period. So, for these emerging states and system, Buddhism was consulted time to time by these rulers or the contemporary kings of the Buddha's time. And even though we normally recognize Buddhism is directed at transcendental or more than transcendental, the human liberation, moksha, but it has focused on the well-being of our society. Without proper function of the society we are living in, we can't focus on spiritual progress. Spirituality is to support finally to our secular life, our day-to-day life. So, Buddhism accepts that we need the good governance, because governance is a process which had been, we can learn from the ancient time to this moment, it is always corrupted, or it is affected highly by, in Buddhist terms, lobha, dvesha and moha. The greed, hatred and ignorance. So, because we know that in the context of the kings, they were, they had every luxuries, they had the power, unquestionable power at that time, not like today. So it is very easy to deviate from the ethical path. So the spiritual leaders, they had to produce, I think, the teachings to bring the control of these people, these rulers. If the first set of Buddhist teachings that Buddha taught for the Raja Chakravarti, or the universal monarch, or the kings, is 5 precepts, which is very common, and everybody knows that Buddhism teaches the 5 precepts, and it is common practice even for the Raja Chakravarti, even the universal monarch. So in Buddhist tradition, one text is that Chakravarti Sihanada Sutta, that is found in the Digha Nikaya, and this sutta is very important in many respects. First thing is, it reveals what is the duty that Raja Chakravarti follows. First thing is, he has to assure the safety of his public. Not only the humans, but also the animals and all the beings living inside his kingdom. They have to be provided with safety first, and then he should be based on 5 precepts. And the one important idea that this sutta reveals is this kind of legendary story. Father king was Chakravarti, his name was Dalhanemi, and then he saw that his time has reached the climax, so then he has to retire from the kingship. Then he handed over the throne to his eldest son. After 1 week from gaining the Abhiseka, the new king loses the Chakraratana. Chakraratana in Sanskrit, in Devanagari words I have mentioned, it means he has lost the power. So then universal power he has lost. So then he was confused, what happened? So then he invites his father king, and then father says, son, universal monarch kinghood or this kingship is not something come from father to son. You have to earn it, even though I transferred it, but protecting it, and you have to gain it through your virtuous conduct. So then he asked, okay, now it is lost, what to do? First, you have to observe uposatha. What is the uposatha? I think you all know this word, I guess. Uposatha is, in our tradition, is observe 8 precepts, not the 5 precepts actually, and refrain from enjoyments, and like a saint or a sannyasi, what the lay people spends uposatha day, then only appears the the chakkaratana, the power again reappears once the king observes the uposatha day, and he starts to place the Dhamma in front of him. Here he asks what are the duties of the universal monarch, Chakravarti Varta. And then king says that Dalhanemi, he is the father king, he teaches to his son, Dhammang eva nissaya, Dhammang sakkaranto, Dhammang garukaranto, Dhammang manento, pujento, Dhammang apachayamano, Dhammikang Rakhavarana gutting sangvidahassu, Anto janasming, balakayasming, etc. It goes on. So he shows that first you have to put the Dhamma first. So then so what is the Dhamma of the Chakravarti is when after the son got the power, he starts invading or winning over the other countries. What he taught was for his subordinate kings who were subjugated by the king through the Dharma. He asked them to observe 5 precepts. Panona hantabbo, adinnang nadatabba, kamesu miccana charitabba, musana bhasitabba, majjang napatabba. This is the Dhamma that Chakravarti Raja holds on, and this is the Dhamma he taught his the kings of his colonies. So this is the duty, first set of duties that we find in Buddhist tradition for good governance. So if it means that 5 precepts serves as the basis for governance. And regarding this, one of the modern German Buddhist scholar, monk, he says, message of the sutta, it means in the Chakravarti Sihanada Sutta, is that adherence to basic ethical principles enshrined in the 5 precepts and cultivating a compassionate attitude. Ruling out of thirst for power. So here we can see that 5 precepts comes first to be observed by us. The underlying principle behind the precepts is being compassionate and being ethical. So these are the things even the ruler should observe. This is the Dhamma, the first. And the second set of teachings come under the name of Rājadharma, 10 royal duties. So these are the Rājadharma is more elaborated in the Buddhist Jataka literature. So then in the Jatakas there are several number of Jatakas which deal with the 10 royal duties. Okay, so then Dana, Sila, Parichaga, Ajjava, Madhava, Tapa, Akkoda, Avihimsa, Kanti, Aviroda. All these things, these 10 duties, finally we can summarize into the principle of the good governance reflected in Buddhist tradition. So it means if I take one thing, so the parichaga, making sacrifices, if people are, if they are for the good of the people, so the king has to maintain a system of welfare for the people. And also he cannot be under the biases. He cannot be violent, and he cannot he cannot hold to hatred. So these are the things that can violate, that can turn a rule into a problematic situation. If the rulers are led by this sort of mental tendencies which are harmful, so then the kingdom can shatter. So therefore, in the ancient tradition, in Buddhist as well as other traditions, they produces some teachings to control not only the physical behavior, even the entire behavior, verbal, physical and mental, of king as well as the ordinary citizen. They all have to observe, and they all have to undergo kind of transformation in their behavior. Then only there is proper function of the society. So okay, then last set of the teachings are in the Mahaparinibbana Sutta. That is those teachings are called Satta Aparihaniya Dharma. Aparihaniya is translated as non-degenerative. They are conducive to prosperity, not for degeneration. So the principles are 7. These are the things: frequent meeting, discussing and leaving assembly in unity, respect for elders and listening to them, not enforcing new laws and preserving already existing laws, visiting the religious places in the kingdom, not commit acts of aggression against women folk, providing safety for religious leaders. So if we observe these 7 principles, these were given by the Buddha for the democracies at the time. All the new ideologies or new trends in our society. Nowadays we talk about gender equality. Of course I support it. I teach it as Buddhism and gender at our universities. So you can see that ancient time in our traditions, whether it is Buddhism or Jainism or Hinduism, this aspect is a special principle to provide safety for the ladies, to respect them, to protect them, and to care for them. So it is a government principle. So in the democracy, it is an essential element to provide this safety for the female. So I think we can learn from these things, and even we can contribute to the ongoing dialogues today in the world about these problems in our societies. Of course, even though we have achieved unimaginable success in science and technology, but still we suffer due to many issues in our societies. Gender is one, and poverty is another. But we have to get insight from these teachings, and also inspiration from these teachings in order to turn the problematic situations into better situations. Please let me to say a few words about this aspect. As in my beginning remarks, I mentioned that today the economy and the good governance are interrelated, and even says that actually the idea of good governance is encouraged in order to facilitate the economic process. So we can see in our tradition, in our traditions, in Buddhist tradition, Buddhism sees in 2 places poverty is the source of all the evil. So if poverty is not removed from society, there's no talk about other things. In the Chakkavati Sihanada Sutta, a causal relationship given based on poverty and how poverty would lead to collapse of society. Adananang dane anupadiyamane dalidyang vepulla magamasi. So when the poor people are not supported by the government or any agencies with necessary welfare, then poverty increases. Dalidyang vepullang gate adinna danang vepullang agamasi. So then when there is poverty, there is stealing. And then adinna dane vepullang gate sattang vepullang agamasi. When there is robberies and those things, then people take weapons to protect themselves. And then satte vepullang gate panatipato vepullang agamasi. When there are weapons in the society, it's natural to have a lot of killings in the society. Panatipata. So then panatipate vepullang gate tesang sattanang ayupi parihaya. Vannapi parihaya. Tesang ayunapi parihaya mananang vannenapi parihaya mananang. So then it says that finally, because of this moral degeneration started from poverty, led to decrease the lifespan of society, of people. So we can see here the relationship between the economic condition and the good governance and poverty, etc. And also another story I have to tell, that comes in the sutta called Kuttadanta Sutta. Everybody can Google it. Here there's very important thing. Please give me 2 minutes, because I want to tell this. Here the Buddha and there was a Brahmin called Kuttadanta. There was a dialogue between them, and the Buddha narrates a past incident. There was a king called Mahavijita, and he wanted to perform a sacrifice, yaga, for him. Then his Purohita Brahmin was not willing to that, but he said, my lord, it is not the time to perform a sacrifice, because in your country there are a lot of problems in the society. Janapado Sakantako Saupalo Gama Gatapi Dissanti Nigama Gatapi Dissanti Nagara Gatapi Dissanti. In your city there are uprisings, and in the country, and also in the villages, in the cities, everywhere there are killings. So it is not time to perform a yaga. So then there is another important thing is, then Purohit is very intelligent. He said, maybe you think that by the exercise of power and weapon or crushing methods in the government system, you can overcome these rebellions. But the Purohit says, no, it's not possible. Okay, you may kill few people, but there are other people, later generation, will rise again. They will get reorganized again and come against you. So you won't experience peace. So what to do? He says, here, Purohita Brahmin advises the king to do several things. One, in your country there are farmers. Please provide what they want, maybe seeds and other facilities, fertilizers, etc. And there are businessmen. Please provide capital for them, or provide the opportunities for the entrepreneurs. And then there are government servants. Please provide them enough salary and other facilities. If you do these things, people will be busy with in the economic process, and then finally, once they will gain sufficient economic strength, then they don't rise against you. How they spend their time? Ure putte nachente aparuta dhara manye viharanti. people, how do they live? They enjoy their, they cuddle their children's in the shoulder, and the houses are left open. Those are not closed, so the people live very freely. So that is the society, as I understand, the Buddhist teachings want to establish on this earth. And in order to do that, the kings, the rulers, they had to adhere these ethical principles and take necessary measurements to assure economic growth in a society. That's the only way to build a better society. Thank you. May people join us.